Hey everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Money Lab. We are so glad you're here.
Excited to be here.
If you're someone looking to cut through all the noise and get straight to the most insightful points on the topics that matter most to you, you've come to the right place.
Yeah.
We take your sources, articles, books, research, you name it, and distill it down to the pure gold.
That's right.
Think of it like having a personal research assistant who highlights the must-know information.
But with a lot more personality.
Exactly. And for our inaugural deep dive, we are tackling this whole idea of building a rich life, but not just in the financial sense.
Yeah.
We're talking about a life that's fulfilling across the board.
Yeah.
We've got a fascinating piece here that really emphasizes a holistic approach to wealth. It's not just about money.
Right.
It's about experiences, relationships, and personal growth.
Absolutely.
This deep dive is packed with actionable strategies, so get ready to take some notes. But first, if you're enjoying this, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future episodes of Money Labs.
Yeah, definitely do that.
Now let's jump in.
All right.
So one of the things that really struck me about this piece is how it tackles the tension between living for today and planning for the future.
Yeah, it's something we all grapple with, right?
But
We
that's-
want to enjoy the present moment, but also set ourselves up for success down the road.
It's such a delicate balance.
It is, and the source introduces this really interesting concept of the scarcity mindset, which can really trip us up when it comes to those long-term goals.
Okay.
It's that feeling of urgency, like, I need to do it all now, or if I don't buy this today, I'll miss out forever.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well. It's like when you see a limited time offer
Yes.
and suddenly you're convinced you absolutely need that item even though you didn't even know it existed 5 minutes ago.
Exactly. That's the scarcity mindset in action.
Wow.
And what's so helpful about this piece is that it gives us some really tangible strategies for overcoming it.
Okay.
For example, it talks about the power of visualizing your future self. If you can really connect with the person you want to be in 5, 10, or 20 years, it makes those short-term sacrifices a lot easier.
Yeah, that's a great point. Instead of just thinking about what we're giving up right now,
Yeah.
we can focus on the incredible rewards we're working towards.
Exactly. It's about making informed decisions, not impulsive ones driven by fear or scarcity.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, another concept that really resonated with me was the importance of letting go of the fear of losing. I think this is something a lot of us struggle with, especially when it comes to finances.
Absolutely. The source connects this to loss aversion, a psychological bias that makes us fixate on avoiding losses more than we prioritize seeking gains.
Oh, go.
For example, we might hold on to a stock that's plummeting because we're so afraid of realizing that loss, even though selling it and reinvesting might be the more rational choice.
I've totally been there.
Yeah.
It's like that sinking feeling in your stomach when you see your investments in the red. You just want to hold on and hope for the best.
It's a natural reaction, but as this piece points out, it can really hold us back. The key takeaway here is that true growth requires taking calculated risks.
Yep.
Sometimes that means letting go of what's not working, even if it means accepting a loss. Think of it like pruning a tree.
Interesting.
You cut away the dead branches to make way for new growth.
That's a great analogy. It's not about being reckless, but about being strategic and understanding that sometimes taking a step back can ultimately lead to greater progress.
Exactly, and this applies to so many areas of life, not just finances.
Okay.
Whether it's a career path that's no longer fulfilling or a relationship that's run its course, recognizing when to let go is crucial for creating space for new opportunities and experiences.
So letting go of that fear of loss isn't about giving up. It's about making space for something even better to come into our lives.
Absolutely.
Now, another point that really stood out to me was the emphasis on health as our greatest asset.
It's true.
It sounds simple, but it's something we often take for granted.
Absolutely. The source highlights how vital physical health is to our overall well-being, including our ability to build wealth. It even cites some pretty startling statistics, like the fact that treating type 2 diabetes can cost over $116,000 per year.
Wow, that's a real eye-opener.
Yeah.
It makes you realize how much we stand to gain by prioritizing our health.
Absolutely. And it's not just about avoiding huge medical bills.
Yeah.
When we're healthy, we have more energy, focus, and resilience to pursue our goals, both personally and professionally.
It's like you can't build a rich and fulfilling life if you're constantly battling health issues.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
source emphasizes preventative measures like eating a balanced diet,
Yeah.
exercising regularly, and managing stress effectively. These things aren't just about feeling good in the moment. They're about investing in your long-term well-being and setting yourself up for success.
It's like building a strong foundation for everything else in life. So we've talked about living for today and tomorrow, letting go of fear, and prioritizing our health. What else does this deep dive have in store for us?
Well, it dives into the importance of having safety nets, especially when it comes to insurance. Think of it like this. You wouldn't attempt a daring trapeze act without a net below to catch you, right?
Of course not. The safety net provides a sense of security, allowing you to take risks and push your boundaries.
Exactly. And in the context of finances, insurance acts as that safety net.
Okay.
It's not just about surviving a crisis. It's about having options and maintaining control when the unexpected
Yeah.
happens. Whether it's health insurance, life insurance, or disability insurance, having these safeguards in place can make a world of difference.
So if something throws you off balance, you're not left scrambling and making desperate decisions.
Right. Insurance gives you the space to think clearly and make the best choices for yourself and your family, even in challenging circumstances. It allows you to approach risk with more confidence, knowing that you have a safety net in place.
So it's not just about mitigating risk, but about empowering us to pursue opportunities that might otherwise seem too daunting. This ties back to the idea of calculated risks we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. It's all connected. Having those safety nets in place give you the freedom to step outside your comfort zone and pursue the things that will truly enrich your life. Speaking of stepping outside your comfort zone, the source also talks about merging opportunities, education, and investment. It highlights how many people regret missing out on opportunities simply because they lacked the knowledge or courage to explore new territories.
It's like that saying, the only thing worse than failing is never trying.
Yeah.
But sometimes the fear of the unknown can be paralyzing.
It's true, and that's where education comes in.
Okay.
The more you know, the more empowered you are to make informed decisions and seize opportunities that come your way. The source even uses the example of art as an investment, which might seem intimidating to some, but platforms like Masterworks are making it more accessible for everyday investors to get involved.
So instead of needing millions to buy an entire Picasso, you can buy a small piece of the pie.
Precisely. And as you learn about the art market, you're not only potentially growing your wealth, but also expanding your knowledge and opening yourself up to a whole new world of possibilities.
It's like knowledge is power, but it can also be profitable. Whether it's art, real estate, or any other field that sparks your interest, taking the time to learn can be a game changer.
It really can, and it all ties back to the idea of having a growth mindset, which is something we'll delve into a bit later.
Three quarter that.
But before we move on, I want to touch on something I think we all struggle with: resisting instant gratification.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the moment and make impulse purchases, especially in today's world of online shopping and targeted ads.
It is, and the source dives into the psychology behind instant gratification, linking it to stress and that fear of missing out we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But it also offers some practical strategies for resisting the urge and focusing on the long-term gains.
So it's like having a plan for when your willpower is weak.
Exactly. One strategy the source highlights is reminding yourself of the long-term goals you're working towards.
Okay.
Instead of thinking, I need that new gadget today, think if I save up for a month, I can get an even better one, and I'll be one step closer to my dream vacation.
That's a great tip. It's about shifting your perspective from immediate gratification to delayed gratification and recognizing that the latter often leads to greater rewards. And honestly, that applies to so much more than just buying stuff. It's about investing in our future, our relationships, our health. It's about putting in the work now for a richer, more fulfilling life later.
Perfectly said. And that brings us to another key concept from the source: building future wealth with a growth mindset.
Now, I think a lot of people might believe that their current income is their biggest barrier to building wealth.
That's a common assumption. But this piece challenges that notion by introducing the idea of a growth mindset. It emphasizes that skills, habits, and even intelligence can be developed over time.
So instead of feeling stuck where we are, we can focus on growing and expanding our capabilities.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're not limited by our current circumstances.
Okay.
We have the power to learn, adapt, and create new opportunities for ourselves. Think of it like this. Your brain is a muscle. The more you challenge it and push it outside its comfort zone, the stronger and more capable it becomes.
That's a great way to look at it. It's not about where we are now, but about where we're headed and the effort we're willing to put in to get there.
Exactly. And even if our current income isn't where we want it to be, we can still take steps to increase our earning potential, whether it's through education, skill development, or exploring new career paths.
It's like instead of focusing on what we lack, we can focus on what we can create.
Yeah.
We have more control over our financial future than we often realize.
That's a really empowering perspective, and it's a key takeaway from this piece. And speaking of empowerment, the source dives into a fascinating concept that might seem counterintuitive at first: The idea that sharing your resources can actually lead to a richer life.
So giving can lead to having more. I'm intrigued. Explain this to me.
I know it sounds paradoxical, right?
It does.
But researchers have been exploring this concept for years, and there's a growing body of evidence to support it. The source explains that generosity is a powerful signal, both to ourselves and to others, about our relationship with abundance.
Okay.
When we give freely of our time, knowledge, or resources, it reinforces the belief that we have enough to go around.
So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Huh.
If we believe in abundance, we're more likely to act in ways that create abundance.
Exactly. And the source points to studies that show people who are generous with their resources actually report feeling less financial stress and having a greater sense of overall well-being.
That makes sense. It's like when we're constantly worried about scarcity, we're less likely to share what we have.
Yeah.
But when we feel abundant, giving becomes natural and joyful.
Precisely, and it creates a ripple effect.
Yeah.
When we give to others, it inspires them to give as well, and that generosity spreads throughout our communities and beyond.
Yeah.
There's a powerful study from Harvard Business School that found people who spent money on others reported feeling happier than those who spent the same amount on themselves.
So it's not just a feel-good concept. There's actual science to back it up.
Exactly. And beyond personal happiness, generosity can have a profound impact on our communities and the world around us. It strengthens relationships, builds trust, and fosters a sense of interconnectedness.
It's like the more we give, the more we receive, not just in material terms, but in
Yeah.
terms of connection, happiness, and
Right.
overall well-being.
Beautifully said. And it's a reminder that a rich life isn't just about what we accumulate for ourselves. It's about the impact we have on others and the legacy we leave behind. Now, while we're on the topic of mindset, the source also delves into the very real issue of cognitive overload and how it can impact our ability to make sound financial decisions.
Cognitive overload. Is that like when your brain is fried from making too many decisions?
Yeah.
I feel like that happens to me all the time.
It's a common experience, especially in today's world where we're bombarded with information and choices at every turn.
Oh, yeah.
The source points out that we make hundreds, if not thousands, of micro decisions every day, from what to eat for breakfast, to what to wear, to how to respond to that email.
Right.
And all of this decision-making can lead to something called decision fatigue.
Decision fatigue. Tell me more about that.
It's essentially a state of mental exhaustion that occurs after making a lot of decisions.
Oh.
And when we're in this state, our willpower weakens, and we're more likely to make impulsive or poor choices, particularly when it comes to our finances.
That makes perfect sense. I've definitely noticed that after a long day of work, when my brain is fried, I'm more likely to order takeout or make an impulse purchase online.
Exactly. And the source highlights that wealthy individuals often combat decision fatigue by automating their finances and creating routines that minimize the number of decisions they have to make each day.
So it's like they're streamlining their lives to conserve mental energy for the big decisions.
Precisely. It's about being intentional with your time and energy.
Okay.
The source even mentions that some successful people wear the same outfit every day to eliminate one more decision from their morning routine.
Wow, that's taken it to a whole new level. But I get the logic. If you can free up mental space by automating your finances and creating routines, you'll have more energy and focus for making sound financial decisions.
Exactly. And this concept applies to all areas of life. The more we can streamline our routines and automate the mundane, the more mental bandwidth we'll have for the things that truly matter.
So instead of feeling overwhelmed and exhausted by constant decision-making, we can create systems that support our well-being and free us up to focus on the things that bring us joy and fulfillment.
Beautifully said. It's about designing a life that's both efficient and fulfilling, allowing us to thrive in all areas, including our finances.
Okay, so we've talked about decision fatigue and the importance of streamlining our lives. What else does this deep dive have to offer?
Well, it dives into the sunk cost fallacy, which is a cognitive bias that can keep us stuck in situations that are no longer serving us.
Sunk cost fallacy. That sounds intriguing. What's that all about?
It's the tendency to cling to things we've already invested in, even when it's clear they're not working out. Think of it like this. You've been dating someone for a few years, but the relationship has become toxic. You know, you should probably move on, but you hesitate because you've already invested so much time and energy into it.
Oh, I think we've all been there at some point. Whether it's a relationship, a job, or even an investment, it can be hard to let go of something we've put so much into, even when it's clearly not working.
Exactly. We become so attached to the time, money, or energy we've already invested that we're afraid to cut our losses and move on.
It's like we're trying to convince ourselves that it's not a waste if we just keep going a little longer.
Precisely. But as this piece points out, this line of thinking can be incredibly detrimental to our overall well-being. It
Right.
keeps us stuck in the past, prevents us from embracing new opportunities, and drains our energy and resources.
So how do we overcome the sunk cost fallacy? It sounds like a difficult trap to escape.
The key is to recognize it when it's happening and be willing to cut our losses even if it feels painful in the moment. The source gives a great example of Jeff Bezos shutting down failing Amazon ventures early on, even after investing millions of dollars. It was a bold move, but it allowed him to redirect those resources to more promising endeavors.
That's a powerful example. It shows that sometimes the smartest move is to walk away and redirect our resources to something more promising.
Exactly, and it ties back to the idea of embracing risk and being willing to adapt. Clinging to sunk costs keeps us stuck in the past, while letting go allows us to move forward and create a brighter future.
So instead of feeling trapped by our past investments, we can choose to see letting go as an act of progress. It's freeing ourselves up to
Right.
pursue new opportunities.
Beautifully said, and that brings us to a really interesting juxtaposition. The source explores the connection between building wealth and connecting with nature.
That's an unexpected pairing. I usually associate wealth with bustling cities and high-powered offices, not tranquil forests and babbling brooks.
I know, right? But the source makes a compelling argument for the role nature plays in our mental clarity, creativity, and decision-making abilities. It points out that staring at the same four walls day after day can lead to mental fatigue and impulsive behavior, which can sabotage our financial health.
So it's like our brains need a break from the constant stimulation of modern life. We need time to unplug, recharge, and reconnect with something larger than ourselves.
Exactly. And nature provides the perfect antidote. It allows us to reset, recharge, and connect with something larger than ourselves.
So taking a walk in the park or spending time in the woods isn't just a nice way to relax, but it's actually an investment in our well-being and our ability to make sound decisions.
Exactly. And it ties back to the idea that a rich life encompasses more than just finances.
Right.
It's about having the mental and emotional energy to enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Like, what's the point of building wealth if you're too stressed and burnt out to enjoy it?
Exactly.
We need to find that balance between working hard and taking care of ourselves.
Exactly. And nature provides that balance, allowing us to recharge and reconnect with the things that truly matter.
So maybe the key to a rich life isn't about working harder, but about working smarter, taking breaks, and investing in our mental and emotional well-being.
Beautifully put. It's about creating a life that's sustainable and fulfilling, allowing you to thrive in all areas, including your finances. And speaking of sustainability, the source dives into the often overlooked topic of protecting generational wealth through estate planning.
Estate planning. I always thought that was just for super wealthy families.
That's a common misconception, but the source emphasizes that estate planning is crucial for anyone who wants to ensure their loved ones are taken care of regardless of their net worth. It's about having a plan in place to protect what you've built and ensure that your wishes are carried out.
So it's not just about passing down millions of dollars, but about providing peace of mind for ourselves and our loved ones.
Exactly. And it's about minimizing the burden on your loved ones during an already difficult time. The source mentions a surprising statistic that 60% of people don't have a will, which means their assets could be tied up in legal battles or distributed in ways they never intended.
That's a sobering thought. It highlights how important it is to be proactive and have these conversations with our loved ones.
Absolutely. And it's not just about a will, it's about having a comprehensive plan that addresses all aspects of your estate, including healthcare directives and power of attorney.
So estate planning isn't just for the ultra-rich. It's a responsible step that anyone can take to protect their loved ones and ensure that their wishes are respected.
Exactly. And it's a key part of building a legacy that extends beyond our own lifetime. It's not just about building wealth for ourselves, it's about creating a foundation that can benefit future generations.
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of estate planning.
Hmm.
What other insights does this deep dive have in store for us?
Well, it emphasizes the importance of expanding our intellectual wealth through lifelong learning.
Lifelong learning? I admit that phrase always makes me think of endless textbooks and exams. Isn't school supposed to be over at some point?
I get where you're coming from, but the source frames lifelong learning in a much more inspiring way. It points out that the world is evolving at an unprecedented pace, and if we're not constantly learning and adapting, we risk falling behind. But more importantly, it's about staying curious, engaged, and intellectually stimulated.
I love that perspective. It frames learning as an adventure, not a chore.
Exactly. And it encourages us to find learning spaces that are enjoyable and fulfilling, whether it's taking courses, joining workshops, or simply exploring new subjects that pique our interest. It's about going beyond passively consuming information. It's about actively engaging with it and making it your own.
So lifelong learning isn't just about accumulating knowledge, it's about cultivating a mindset of curiosity, growth, and continuous improvement.
Beautifully said, and it's a key ingredient in building a rich and fulfilling life.
Okay, so we've talked about expanding our intellectual wealth. What other areas does this deep dive explore?
Well, it dives into the often overlooked realm of emotional wealth and the importance of building strong relationships.
Emotional wealth. That's not a term you hear every day.
It's not. But the source highlights that our relationships are a form of wealth just as valuable as our financial assets.
So it's not just about what's in our bank accounts, it's about the quality of our connections
Yeah.
and the support we have in our lives.
Exactly. The source emphasizes that people with strong social connections tend to live longer, healthier, and happier lives.
That makes sense. When we have people we can rely on, we're more resilient in the face of challenges and more likely to thrive in all areas of life.
Precisely. And the source encourages us to invest time and energy in nurturing our relationships just as we would invest in any other valuable asset.
So it's not just about having a lot of friends or acquaintances, it's about cultivating deep, meaningful connections with people who truly support us and bring joy to our lives.
Exactly. It's about being present and engaged in those relationships, showing up for the people you care about, and investing in their well-being as much as your own.
Relationships are a two-way street. They require effort and nurturing from both sides.
Precisely. And when we invest in our relationships, we're investing in our own happiness, health, and overall well-being.
So maybe the key to a rich life isn't about accumulating more stuff, but about cultivating more love, connection, and support.
Beautifully said. And it's a powerful reminder that our relationships are a source of immense wealth, both tangible and intangible. Now, before we move on to the next section, let's pause for a moment and talk about something that's essential to building a rich life in all its dimensions:
What's that?
gratitude.
Gratitude. It seems a bit counterintuitive. Isn't ambition all about striving for more, always pushing for the next goal? How does gratitude fit into that equation?
It's a great question, and the source addresses this directly, pointing out that it's easy to get caught up in the comparison game, always looking at what others have and feeling like we're falling short. Especially in today's world of social media, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking everyone else has it figured out while we're still struggling.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well. It's so easy to get sucked into that vortex of comparison and feel inadequate.
Exactly. But the source emphasizes that a rich life is about finding a balance between striving for more and appreciating what we already have. It's not about settling or giving up on our dreams. It's about finding joy in the journey and celebrating our wins along the way.
So it's about recognizing that true happiness comes from within, not from external validation or material possessions.
Precisely. The source even suggests a simple exercise. Take a moment to identify 3 things you're proud of right now. It's a great way to shift your focus from what you lack to what you've achieved, even if those achievements seem small.
That's a great idea. It's like giving ourselves a little pat on the back and acknowledging
Yeah.
that we're doing pretty darn well.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on how far we have to go, we can pause and appreciate how far we've come.
Exactly. And that shift in perspective can be incredibly empowering and motivating. It reminds us that we're capable of achieving great things and that we already have so much to be grateful for.
So maybe the key to a rich life isn't about having more, but about wanting less, about finding contentment and gratitude for what we already have. It's a powerful reminder that true wealth lies in the richness of our experiences, the depth of our connections, and the gratitude we cultivate in our hearts.
Beautifully said, and I think that's a perfect segue into the next section of this deep dive where we'll explore even more strategies for building a rich and fulfilling life.
I'm ready when you are.
All right, let's dive in. Building on this idea of gratitude, the source also highlights the importance of recognizing and celebrating our wins, both big and small. It's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of life that we forget to pause and acknowledge our accomplishments.
I'm definitely guilty of that. I'm always looking ahead to the next goal, the next project, the next milestone. Sometimes I forget to take a moment and appreciate how far I've already come.
It's a common trap, especially for those of us who are driven and ambitious. But taking the time to celebrate our wins, no matter how small they may seem, can have a profound impact on our motivation and well-being. It reinforces our belief in ourselves, reminds us of our capabilities, and fuels our desire to keep moving forward.
It's like giving ourselves a little pat on the back and saying, hey, you're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Exactly. And those small moments of self-acknowledgement can make a big difference in our overall outlook and resilience. They help us stay positive even when we face setbacks or challenges. And speaking of challenges, the source also touches on the importance of embracing failure as a necessary part of growth. It's something a lot of people try to avoid, but the truth is we learn more from our mistakes than we do from our successes.
I've definitely had my share of failures, both personally and professionally. And while they're never fun to go through, I've learned so much from each one. They helped me refine my approach, develop resilience, and ultimately become a better version of myself.
That's a great point. The source highlights the importance of reframing our view of failure. Instead of seeing it as a setback, we can choose to see it as an opportunity for learning and growth. It's like that famous Thomas Edison quote, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work.
I love that. It's a reminder that setbacks are inevitable, but they don't have to define us. It's all about how we choose to respond to them.
Exactly. And the source even suggests keeping a failure journal where you document your mistakes, the lessons you learned, and how you plan to apply those lessons moving forward. It's a powerful way to turn those setbacks into stepping stones.
That's such a great idea. I'm definitely going to start doing that. It's a reminder that even the most successful people have faced countless failures along the way. What sets them apart is their ability to learn from those experiences and keep moving forward.
Absolutely. And speaking of learning, let's circle back to a concept we touched on earlier, the idea of lifelong learning. The source really emphasizes the importance of continuously expanding our knowledge and skills, not just for professional advancement, but for personal enrichment as well.
I'm starting to see how all these concepts are interconnected. It's not just about finances. It's about developing a mindset of growth and continuous improvement in all areas of our lives.
Exactly. And the great thing about lifelong learning is that it's never been easier to access information and resources. We have so many options at our fingertips: online courses, podcasts, books, documentaries, workshops, the list goes on.
It's like we have a world of knowledge at our fingertips.
Hmm.
But sometimes I feel overwhelmed by all the choices. Where do I even begin?
I hear you. The source actually provides some great tips for navigating the world of lifelong learning. It suggests starting by identifying your interests and passions. What topics really light you up? What skills have you always wanted to develop?
That's a great place to start. It's about finding that intersection between what you enjoy and what will help you grow.
Exactly. And once you've identified your interests, you can start exploring different learning formats. Maybe you prefer the structure of an online course, or maybe you thrive in a more hands-on workshop setting experiment and see what works best for you.
I love that. It's about making learning a fun and engaging experience, not just another item on your to-do list.
Exactly. And the source also highlights the importance of finding learning communities and connecting with other learners. It could be a book club, a study group, an online forum, or even just a group of friends who share similar interests.
That makes a lot of sense. Learning together can be so much more enriching and motivating than going it alone.
Absolutely. It provides accountability, support, and inspiration, and it can also lead to unexpected collaborations and opportunities.
So lifelong learning isn't just about accumulating knowledge. It's about creating a vibrant ecosystem of learning and growth in our lives.
Beautifully put. And it's a key ingredient in building a rich and fulfilling life.
Okay, we've talked about celebrating wins, embracing failure, and the importance of lifelong learning. What other insights does this deep dive offer?
Well, the source dives into a topic that's often overlooked but incredibly important: the power of surrounding ourselves with the right people. It emphasizes the impact our social circles have on our mindset, our habits, and ultimately our success.
That makes sense. We've all heard the saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But I think it's easy to underestimate the impact of those relationships.
It's true. The source explains that our social circles can either elevate us or hold us back. If we surround ourselves with people who are negative, cynical, or complacent, it's likely to rub off on us. But if we surround ourselves with people who are positive, supportive, and growth-oriented, their energy and mindset will inspire us to become better versions of ourselves.
So it's not just about having a lot of friends or connections. It's about being intentional about who we allow into our inner circle.
Exactly. The source suggests taking a look at your current social circle and asking yourself some honest questions. Do these people support my goals and aspirations? Do they challenge me to grow? Do they make me feel good about myself?
Those are great questions to consider. It's about creating a support system that empowers us to thrive.
Precisely. And the source also encourages us to seek out mentors and role models who embody the qualities we admire and aspire to cultivate in ourselves. It could be someone in your field, a family member, a friend, or even a historical figure you admire.
That's a great tip. Having someone to look up to and learn from can be so valuable, especially when we're navigating new territory. It's like having a guide on our journey.
Exactly. Mentors can offer guidance, support, and encouragement, and they can also help us see our potential in ways we might not have recognized ourselves.
So, surrounding ourselves with the right people is like building a dream team for our lives.
Yeah.
It's about having a network of individuals who inspire us, support us, and challenge us to be our best selves.
Beautifully said. And it's a key ingredient in building a rich and fulfilling life. And speaking of building a rich life, the source also emphasizes the importance of setting boundaries and protecting our time and energy. It's something a lot of people struggle with, especially in today's always-on world.
I know, I definitely struggle with this. I have a tendency to say yes to everything and everyone, and then I end up feeling overwhelmed and depleted. It's like I'm constantly giving away my energy and time without considering my own needs.
It's a common trap, and it can lead to burnout and resentment. The source highlights the importance of being more discerning about how we spend our time and energy. It's not about being selfish, but about recognizing that we can't pour from an empty cup.
That's such an important point. We need to take care of ourselves first if we want to be able to show up fully for others.
Exactly. And the source provides some practical tips for setting boundaries, such as learning to say no more, often delegating tasks when possible, and scheduling time for yourself just like you would schedule any other important appointment.
I love that. It's about treating ourselves with the same respect and consideration that we give to others.
Exactly. And it's about recognizing that our time and energy are precious resources that should be invested wisely.
So setting boundaries isn't about being rude or uncaring. It's about protecting our well-being and ensuring that we have the resources we need to thrive.
Beautifully said. And it's a key ingredient in building a rich and fulfilling life. Now, before we wrap up this section, I want to touch on a concept that's closely related to setting boundaries: the importance of prioritizing self-care. It's something that's often seen as a luxury, but in reality, it's essential for our physical, mental, and emotional well-being.
I've definitely been guilty of neglecting self-care in the past, especially when I'm feeling busy or stressed. But I've learned the hard way that it's not sustainable. When I don't make time for myself, I end up feeling run down, resentful, and less effective in all areas of my life.
You're not alone. A lot of people view self-care as something they'll get to when they have time, but the truth is, it's an investment in our overall well-being and productivity. The source highlights the importance of making self-care a non-negotiable part of our routine, just like brushing our teeth or eating breakfast.
So it's not about indulging in extravagant spa days or vacations, though those are nice too, but about incorporating small daily rituals that nourish our mind, body, and soul.
Exactly. It could be as simple as taking a few minutes each morning to meditate, going for a walk in nature, reading a good book, or spending time with loved ones. It's about finding activities that help us recharge and reconnect with ourselves.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about making self-care a priority, not an afterthought.
Exactly. And the source even suggests creating a self-care menu where you list all the activities that bring you joy and make you feel good. Then when you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, or depleted, you can refer to your menu and choose an activity that will nourish and replenish you.
That's such a great idea. It takes the guesswork out of self-care and makes it more accessible and achievable.
Exactly. It's about creating a personalized toolkit of self-care strategies that you can draw on whenever you need them.
So self-care isn't selfish, it's essential. It's about taking care of ourselves so we can show up as our best selves for the people we care about and the work we're passionate about.
Beautifully said. And it's a key ingredient in building a rich and fulfilling life. So we've covered a lot of ground in this section. We've talked about the importance of celebrating our wins, embracing failure, lifelong learning, surrounding ourselves with the right people, setting boundaries, and prioritizing self-care.
It's amazing how all these concepts are interconnected. It's like we're building a holistic framework for a life that's rich in all dimensions, not just financially, but emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually as well.
Exactly. It's about creating a life that's aligned with our values, our passions, and our purpose.
Wow, it's incredible how much ground we've covered in this deep dive. From mindset shifts and financial strategies to the importance of relationships and self-care, it's been an eye-opening journey for sure.
It really has. And, I think the key takeaway here is that building a rich life isn't about following a set formula or
Mhm.
achieving a specific financial goal. It's about creating a life that feels rich and meaningful to you,
Yeah.
based on your own values, passions, and aspirations.
It's about defining what wealth truly means to you, beyond just the numbers in your bank account. It's about cultivating a sense of abundance in all areas of your life. Your finances, your health, your relationships, your personal growth,
Yeah.
your contribution to the world.
Beautifully said. And the beauty of it is that it's an ongoing journey. There's
Hmm.
no finish line. There's always something new to learn, new
Yeah.
experiences to embrace, new ways to grow. It's about embracing the process, the ups and downs, the challenges and triumphs,
Yeah.
knowing that each experience shapes us and contributes to the richness of our lives.
It's about seeing life as an adventure with endless possibilities for exploration and discovery. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to encourage our listeners to take a moment and reflect on what resonated with them most from this conversation.
Yes, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your insights, your aha moments, and your own experiences in the comments below. We're building a community here at Money Labs, and we believe that we can all learn and grow from each other's wisdom.
Absolutely. So don't be shy, share your thoughts, and let's continue this conversation together.
And before we go, we want to leave you with one final thought. Building a rich life isn't about making drastic overnight changes. It's about taking small, consistent steps in the direction of your dreams.
Okay.
It's about making choices each day that align with your values and move you closer to the life you envision.
It's about focusing on progress, not perfection. It's about celebrating the small wins and learning from the setbacks. It's about believing in yourself and your ability to create a life that feels truly rich and meaningful to you.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone. We're here to support you on your journey. Subscribe to Money Labs for more insightful deep dives, actionable strategies, and inspiring conversations.
We're excited to continue this exploration with you, and we can't wait to see what you create.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep building that rich and fulfilling life you deserve.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next deep dive on Money Labs.